So Weekends is doing a tribute to Michael Brooks. It just started, and I can't watch it right now. I don't want to start crying. I know I'll start crying. I'm looking at Anna Kasperi and I'm looking at the other guy they got, and it's just I had thought about what will the future be like as far as his show and Weekends. Um, and this I've been on Reddit a lot. I've been on TMBS Reddit a lot and stuff like that, and reading people making statements about different things and expressing their grief and their sadness and sympathy to the TMBS family, the Majority Report family as well. And I realized that we're really a family, and that we're grieving together. And I even put something on there. This guy was talking about how he had felt bad because he was poor and all this. And I told him this. I was like, you have no reason to feel that way. I drive trucks. I felt the same way. And this is the legacy of him, is making us realize that working class, we have no reason to feel bad about anything because the world has been set up a certain kind of way. One thing Michael did that I don't think Majority Report did, and I don't think anybody else has really done, is to go into the history of the left, the history of people who moved the various movements along, as far as the New Deal and things of that nature. A. Philip Randolph, Henry Wallace, the VP to FDR, Patrice Lumumba, what's the guy, Sankara, I believe his name. There's quite a few people like that he exposed us to, in giving us an understanding of why the world is the way it is. See, one thing with Republicans, they don't do that. And he spoke about that, how we're Republicans, that things are just the way they are. And that there isn't other than like the Constitution and George Washington and all that shit, there isn't a great talk or discussion about Operation Condor. You won't hear, that's why I liked Alex Jones, because he did that. But he buried the lead. He didn't go into Operation Condor as the U.S. government did this to go after liberals and socialists and communists. He just was saying like, big government did all this kind of stuff. It's kind of like Republicans say about the Democratic Party and the Confederacy, that Democrats years ago were for slavery. Well, that's true, but a lot has changed since then. Confederate flag is a symbol. That can't really change. It can change for the rednecks, but not for us. Not for our grandparents. It won't. Whereas Democratic Party can change. I mean, I guess you could say the Klan could change, but I don't think so. Look, Michael Brooks brought us together. And I just started looking at his reading list they put on the Reddit. I'm going to start reading some of those books. I've got his workbook for the meditation, and I bought the audio part of it too, for like $10. I'm gonna start doing his meditation. That's all he ever did. He did meditation, and then he wrote his book, Against the Web, a cosmopolitan, look at the, that's. I'm probably get his book too. I've been talking about that. Honestly, I'm looking at possibly going back to college. That to me is Michael Brooks' legacy in my life. Understanding the world around me. And see, as a black man, it's different. Because as black people, we know about this stuff, but there isn't you're not taught this. Your parents don't teach you who Patrice Lumumba was. Your parents probably didn't teach you much about Dr. King, other than, bullshit. And not the fact that he was a socialist. Not the fact that he talked about how can I talk about violence when I'm dealing with the greatest purveyor of violence in the world, which is the American government. The American military, all that stuff. That has not changed. 50, 60 years later, that has not changed. I think maybe they're more violent now than they were in the 60s and 70s, that era. They're more violent, I think that they don't pretend anymore. They just do it. It shocks me looking at what the West does and just this lack of shame, lack of embarrassment. We're the bad guys. I guess Michael Brooks helped to show us that. People will say that he was ashamed to be a white person or whatever. And I thought about that myself. Like, why would a white man bring forward this kind of information? And when you look at it, it's like, man, look at what white people have done to all of these really democratic leaders. I mean, I knew about Arbenz in Guatemala, the United Fruit Company. I knew about that from Chomsky, his book, when I was a kid. I knew about George Bush and the Iraq War. I knew about that when I was like 13, guys. But Brooks took it to a whole nother level, and I love him for that. And that's why I look at his speeches, and some of the stuff is dated. Obviously, Bernie Sanders isn't in the running anymore. It's dated. This video will be dated one day, but I'm gonna watch every last one of his episodes. Every last one of them. I'm still on the first one. Started watching yesterday, and I'm gonna start piecing things together. I'm sure that's what he would have wanted. I told you the book list. I told you I'm starting his meditation program. I'm probably going to buy his book within the next couple of weeks. I got to figure out this Red Emma stuff, what he was talking about. I don't want to buy it off Amazon. He wouldn't have wanted that. He wouldn't have wanted it. I use Amazon. I'm really stopping it. Certain things that I can only get on Amazon. But I know he would have wanted you to use some other mechanism to buy his book. And it wasn't got his meditation from the source, from their website. So I wish he could have had kids. I wish he could have written more books. I'm glad he wrote a book. So it's almost like I'm a detective and someone took his life and I have to go back and investigate what he was really talking about. And I followed him, like I told my friend Giselle. You know why I'm hurt so bad at Michael? You know why it hurts me so bad that he died? Y'all want to know why? Because I feel like Michael Brooks and Sam Cedar were spoon-feeding me knowledge. They were. I thought about maybe getting his book when it came out. I thought about, but it's kind of like, I've listened to the stuff on the Reconstruction stuff he's talked about, and Sam Cedar, he has people on the show that have written books, so that. Same thing went on Contact. And I just felt like, no, I'll just keep watching these guys and they'll spoon feed me information. And it kind of like almost like an entertainment. And I realized that, no, in the wake of Michael Brooks' death, I am a witness to an imperialistic state that's going into an end game. Michael Brooks died first. You know what? I've been talking about, I told y'all this. I talked about this last week. It's like Monday or Tuesday, I think. That I had a conversation with a friend of mine, with John, dude I work with, about how what bothers me the most is we have so many of our social intelligentsia who are going to die or who have died. Maya Angelou, she passed a number of years ago. Noam Chomsky, he's getting up there in age. Cornel West, Chris Hedges. I'm gonna tell you something. Michael Brooks and Chris Hedges, in my mind, are level. Sam Cedar, he's below Chris Hedges, no doubt. Because Sam Cedar, he gets into some things I really don't care about. Like, I ain't gonna lie, the immigration stuff, I don't really care about that. Other things, I work with Mexicans. I work on work sites, Mexicans. I don't really care about that stuff. don't. Maybe I'm a bad guy for that. Maybe I should. Chris Edge is getting up there in age. He lost his post. He had another job he was doing. He still has the show on RT. There's a number of other mature members of our intelligentsia that are getting up there in age. Michael's death shocked me. I realized I'm not even in the grief yet. I hadn't even really grieved for Michael. There's a shock. There's a deep shock. And inside me, I have a loss. I lost something when he died, man. I lost something. And I know it. And I woke up this morning and I felt it. I lost something. And I ain't felt this way about nobody. Ever. This guy, this is a good guy, man. Because when you talk about like my grandfather, I cried for him. It hurt me when he passed. But he was elderly. And he had a lot of health problems. And, there was also discussion about, where would he live? Would he live with me and stuff like that? And that would have been, he would have had to live with me. That's what would happen. But that still would have been somewhat of an encumberment. It would have. Let's just be honest. As a man, I'm a young man. I was 26, 27 years old when it happened. Hey, Michael Brooks was just getting his message out there. I mean, Fox News covered his death on their little website. Okay? His death, he died in the prime, as older folks used to say. He died in his prime. And we got all this other shit going on, Gestapo in the streets and everything. That makes it hurt worse because he was somebody that we turned to. And I read a lot of different comments on the Reddit expressing that same viewpoint. That he was our, I could come home, sit down, drink a beer, or come home from work. For me, it was at work listening to him, and listen to them guys. When I was at ECM, I listened to them all day, just driving. Yeah. I wasn't following his show then. No. Like I followed his. I think I followed his show for like maybe a month before he died. And I've talked to you guys before in the first video I did that I was getting ready to get on his Patreon. There's a lot of people I follow on YouTube. TMBS, MR, Majority Report. I follow Roland Martin. I used to follow Jimmy Dore. I follow quite a few people. David Packman, secular humanist. I follow Kyle Kalinske, the Humanist Report, Secular Report, and even Tim Black. And none of them, to me, Jamal, I'll see him sometime in the morning, none of them moved me the way Michael Brooks did. He moved me. There was power. He had power. And he still has power, even beyond the grave. Listening, reading the comments on that Reddit showed me he had power, and that hopefully we can use. There's people like that have died in the past. That you hear, they talk about how at the funeral, all different people who have nothing in contact with each other, nothing in common with each other, but they love this person. That's what Michael Brooks was. I wouldn't say maybe that extreme because, most of us are socialists. Most of us believe in a more egalitarian society. Most of us are anti-imperialists. Most of us recognize that the actions of the American government have led to the levels of inequality we have. I think most of if we were all getting in the church or at a church, I'm pretty sure 99% of people would agree with me on what I just said. The points I just made. It doesn't say much. And with Trump, he takes it to the extreme. He does. And I like that Michael Brooks talked about, like, hey, I don't care about his Twitter. I think his Twitter is funny. I feel the same way. I said that back when I was at Eagle. I told somebody that I don't care about his Twitter. I think his Twitter is hilarious. Hamburger, Kofifi, that shit is hilarious. This guy is an idiot. I mean, I took one semester in college. But one thing I do know, you are what you write. And I was just some fucking freshman college student at a junior college, and I learned that. Trump was the fucking president of the United States. Okay? Or is the president of the United States. It bothers me. The Bible talks about how the evil are able to do what they want and get what they want, and the good, we suffer, even though they seem to get away with everything they want to do. That's what hurt me about Michael Brooks. I heard a lot of people on there echo those same sentiments, that Henry Kissinger's still alive, Trump has Gestapo on the streets. I think a judge today just ruled that the state of Oregon or the city of Portland cannot put a restraining order on the feds, that they don't have standing. I mean, it's just one slap after the other, and it hurts. It hurts. God, it hurts. I mean, it'd be one thing if Michael had passed and Biden was getting elected, or Trump, like I look at alternate timelines. I look back at like how politics could have been different. Like, what if the Nazis had launched Sea Lion? How would that have affected the war? How could the Allies have ended the war sooner? Before 1943, what could they have done? If Trump had said, okay, after the military turned against him and said, keep us out of this, and Trump kind of cooled down and was like, hey, let's have a discussion, instead of putting Gestapo on the streets. Even if that happened and things had tamped down and calmed down, and there wasn't this kidnapping and arrests and shooting people in the face with beanbags and shit, putting them in comas, and even if that didn't happen, this would have still been tragic. But the fact that we're living in such a dystopic era, and there's a Great Depression, and a possible second wave coming in the fall, it makes it all 10 times worse. But I am confident, I am thoroughly confident, that we as a family can make some significant inroads in the struggle. I'm confident Michael Brooks' legacy will live on. And as much as I don't want to watch the memoriams, I've got a playlist on YouTube. I know I'll watch them even. It might be a month from now. I can't watch these things, man. But I know I have to. Because I'm a part of you. I'm a part of the family. I'm standing with you. People are hurting worse than I am. People that watched them back in, years ago. Imagine how it must feel for them. I've only been watching them since the beginning of this, beginning of this year. Sam Cedar, yeah. I just want everybody to know we're together. We're in the struggle. And that the struggle must continue. That Michael would want that. And that it's a quote Edmund Burke made. In essence, paraphrasing, he said that bad men succeed when good men do nothing. And that's how I feel in this era. That's how I feel with Michael Brooks' passing. That's how I feel about his supporters and the movement that he really inspired. This global working class movement with President Lula, former President Lula, and things like that. I mean, I may go back to college behind this. This is not. I just want everybody to know that his legacy lives on through us right now. And when I said earlier this week that any of us could die, that what that means is, don't wait. Don't sit here and just sip applesauce. Don't do it. Michael Brooks, I feel like God put him out here for me to get information, to get inspired. And I feel like people like him don't happen every generation. People like him, you don't like, these are There's a quote. I'm gonna end it on this. It's a quote. It's a comment that Red made in the Shawshank Redemption when his friend Andy Dufresne, escaped the prison, and people had asked him, how did he feel about his friend escaping, and he said, paraphrasing again, that he missed his friend, but it gave him joy to know that that beautiful bird had escaped his cage. I felt like Brooks, we didn't deserve him. We, working class people that were spending money in his, TMBS and all that, we didn't deserve him. He should have been in politics. He should have been, on a higher plane, a higher platform. Sam Seder even said that he had outgrew Majority Report. And I remember thinking about that. I was like, man, is he ever going to do it? So I thought about that. I said, man, is he ever going to break off? And I was like, man, that's going to be rough. I have to follow both shows, And then he died. He was creating his own content to the point where he didn't need Sam and them anymore. I like that about Sam, that Sam, it's like he wants all his people to do their own thing. Because I always felt like Sam would pass first. Anyway, going on too long. If nothing else, be inspired by him and be thankful that he was in this world long enough for us to be able to learn from him, to learn from his example, to learn from the decisions he made in his life, the friends he made in his life, people he brought on his show. Be inspired by that and be thankful that you knew him. Peace, family.